back on the Investigative Journal. I'm your host, Greg Szymanski, and let me tell you, as an interviewer, someone who has researched the Illuminati for a long time. It started way back when I was a young reporter in Rome. It's a whole different ballgame when you're actually talking to someone with experiences like this. It takes it out of that realm of what is quasi-fiction fact into the realm of reality, and it's really shocking. And I'll be honest with you, this is a story that, folks, you have to listen to, because this is going on in our country. All the things you're seeing regarding our rights being taken away, the police state, the war in Iraq, 9/11, all these things have to do with this powerful group. And SVALI, you know, we're talking about mid-level people, then we're going to talk about some of the lower-level people. I'm interested who they are. But I imagine a lot of these, you said they weren't happy, but a lot of them probably stay because it's very, I mean, it's a very lucrative way to live. I imagine you from wealthy families.
Oh, yeah. In fact, and that's the main thing, that's one of the factors that keeps people in. The reason more people don't leave is because leaving means giving up your husband, your children, your entire family on both sides, your money, and basically for a lot of people leaving the group, it means giving up everything and starting out penniless and alone. And not only that, but then you're combating internal programming to recontact, to go back, to be loyal, to be a good member. And I've known many people that tried to leave and went back because they just couldn't take it.
Do you want to take a phone call right now to break it up?
Sure.
Okay, Marilyn in California. You're on the Investigative Journal, Marilyn.
Yes, I've been just sort of caught part of this. I lost part of it. I'm listening on the Internet, but I didn't quite catch it. How did this woman become involved in this Illuminati training?
Go ahead. Can you explain that, SVALI?
Yes. I was taught it from early childhood. I was mentored into it. Trainers in the group are mentored. You work with older adults, and they show you, and you are given increasing responsibility until by the time you're in your teens, you are basically doing adult training responsibilities. You've been taught for years.
Parents put you in it, or?
Yes, they were members.
Oh, I see. So it comes down through one parent to another.
Or from both.
Are they private schools?
Do what?
Are these private schools?
Well, when my children were schooled at private Christian schools, they were all Illuminati.
Oh, you're saying that the Christian schools are Illuminati?
Some of them are. Not all, but some. No, the ones that my children were in were specifically. But no, there's a lot of good Christian schools that have nothing to do with the group, but some can be. Now, I went to a public school, but what's interesting is out of 3 public schools I went to as a young child, 2 have burned down. So there's no access to any school records.
I'll be darned.
Marilyn, just to get you up to speed, you're born into this, then you're trained as a young child. You go through an induction ceremony in the Vatican, and this is going on with 1% to 2% of our population, according to SVALI. Very serious in all levels, government and everything else. Go ahead, Marilyn. You have another question?
Yeah, when you say the Vatican, now that is not a Christian religion. Okay, so I mean, I'm a Christian. But we do not look at Catholics as a Christian religion. We look at them as the precursor of the New World religion. So
well, you know, if I may just break in, I grew up a Catholic. I don't get involved in the splicing of the religions. I'm basically stating that when I started researching the Illuminati as a reporter in Rome, and I realized there was a bad portion of the church, I looked at it. I had to deal with the evil and the good. And so that's the way I reconciled it, the evil within the Catholic Church at the high level of the Vatican, which seeps down into many, many areas. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I won't argue that point. I don't agree with it, but it sounds like you have become possibly born again to get out of this. Could I be correct in that?
Yes, Marilyn, very much. Now, first, I do want to say I am not slamming the Catholic Church or the average Catholic. I have many good friends that are Catholics, that are strong Christians. I became a Christian, and that's the only way I could get out. But just so you know, though, too, a lot of card-carrying Illuminists, well, we don't really carry cards, but I'm using that term.
Yes.
Are members of the Baptist Church, are members of Pentecostal churches. In fact, I was on the worship team for a Wesleyan church in San Diego in my day life. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just very, very confused. I mean, I think this is interesting, and as far, many people say that the Catholic Church will be the forerunner of the New World Religion. There's some very good books out. In fact, I think you may have interviewed one of these men, the Grand Plan Design, John Daniel.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Sure.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
The average Catholic has no idea of what's going on in the Vatican.
Yeah. I think that's interesting that the average Catholic would not go what's going on. That's just my take on it.
Well, I'll tell you something. As an average Catholic going to Rome my first time in 1980, I didn't know what was going on, and I grew up as a Catholic, went to Notre Dame High School. It was quite a learning experience for me.
Why do Catholics, when they find out how evil the church is, stay in it? I mean, do they really... Why would they want to stay in it? That's what bothers me. I know some good people that are like that, and I don't get it.
Well, the only answer, I don't know. I mean, there are many Catholics that aren't actively practicing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll leave that for another time. Thanks a lot, Marilyn. We'll be back on the Investigative Journal in 3 minutes with SVALI. Okay, they're not going to get me, that's for sure. My house is anti-illuminated. It's not going to happen, folks. And, just to end that, SVALI, before I get back to you, just to end that conversation we had with Marilyn about Catholicism, I look back and I really thank my dad. And I do it in kind of a way, I'm just thinking about it now. I didn't know what the church was about, but, something strange did happen when I was young. My mom died, and I was 10 years old. My brother was 6 months old at the time. She died of leukemia. It was a very, very tragic affair. It left my dad and me and my brother alone. And I remember my dad literally took a priest, a head Monsignor in our parish, and it was, I won't even tell you where, St. John Brebeuf, right outside of Chicago. And this man came into our house, I'll never forget it, and said that he was going to put me and my little brother in an orphanage. And my dad literally picked him up and threw him out the door, literally. And from that point on, my dad never went back to church again. My brother never went to a Catholic school. I, of course, asked if I could finish only because I had friends there. But, who knows what would have happened, looking back on what's the craziness that goes on in the church. But anyways, while you were talking about, something, these people that do not want to get out because of the financial ties. But let's go back when you were in the Illuminati, and how did this happen? How did you finally leave? And tell us this whole story about you leaving the Illuminati. We haven't touched on that yet.
Sure. Well, I do want to say one thing that I agreed with Marilyn on. Without faith in God, I couldn't have done it, because I became a Christian, and that was for me revolutionary, because it made me question again more of what I was being taught or had believed all my life. I began to realize that what I was doing was wrong. I became increasingly cynical. And I also then started standing up to the head trainer in the county, who despised me, because he would do things that were just blatantly cruel for no reason whatsoever. I'd say, you're wrong. Well, people don't like that. And he took it out on me in a lot of horrible ways. I finally made the decision to run. I ran to another state, because I knew that my chances of getting out while still staying in that area with people I knew, surrounded by people who were in the group, was not going to be very good. So I went to another state.
You had to leave your family and everything, right?
Everything. Well, my children were with their grandparents, and at that point I thought that was better than them being with my husband. And I was going to go get my kids. But my husband then called, and he said, I want to reunite with you. And I said, okay, that's wonderful. And I said, but you have to get help. You have to get some treatment, because we can't go on. You've got to get out of the group. And he said, okay. He said, I'll pick up the kids and meet you in a week. So, the day before he called, said, I'll be there tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And so I was excited, thinking, oh, he's getting out. That's wonderful. Instead, he had gotten the kids several days before. He was lying to me. I didn't know it. I'd gone to a judge, and the day that he was supposed to arrive, there was a knock on my door. It was the policeman serving me divorce papers, and also a restraining order saying that I could not come within 100 yards of my husband or my children. And at that point, I felt slightly punished for leaving the group. I fought that, and I fought for 4 years with a court system that said that things like this didn't occur, because my husband would go into court and say, this woman's psychotic. She's making it all up. There's no way. Ha, ha, ha. This stuff doesn't happen this day and age. And the judge would say, you're right, slam. Full custody to the father. And I had to have supervised visitation for 4 years with my own children, because I was considered a kidnap risk. But through a lot of prayer, I had my whole church praying for me here in Texas. And through what I believe are a series of miracles, my children were finally allowed unsupervised visitation with me after 4 years. And during that time, I said to my daughter, who was 14, I said, I want so badly for you to get out. And she looks at me and she starts going, oh, you shouldn't have said that, Mom. You shouldn't have said that, Mom. She just freaked out. She just totally lost it. And I realized it was her programming cycling, because she was just terrified. She was like, why'd you say that? Where'd you say that? And I said, it's okay, honey, calm down. And then finally, she was just shaking. And then finally she said, well, I don't want to go back and get hurt. And then I said, you don't have to. And at that point, I faced federal prison, but I called my ex and I said, I will not let those children go back and get hurt again. And he flew out to get them. And he could have put me in prison at the time, because I was breaking the custody visitation. And you know how strong the courts are on that? Mm-hmm. And I said to him, please, because my daughter and son said, we don't want to go back, Dad. We don't want to get hurt. We don't want to do this anymore. And he looked at them and he said, I want to go think about it. And so he went home. And I was praying for him at the time. And then that night he called me and says, oh my God. And I said, wait, he said, we've got to get out. And I'm like, yes, you do. And and then he said, he made the decision to get out. At that point, he went to a notary public. He gave me, and he did a legal document, gave me full custody of my children. And then he said he was so sorry for it. He put me through the HLL. He put me through for years.
Now, have you had any reprisals from anybody in the group since you leaving, or any warnings to keep quiet or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. And there's one time when I did write one article that named some specific dates and times, and I got hurt afterwards, and it made me very cautious. And that's why I don't give a lot of radio interviews, and why I don't do a lot of this. That's one reason why.
I appreciate this, because, the number of people you're going to help by maybe waking up the American people, what's really going on. Sometimes it's you can wake up many more people by a person like you than talking about 100 million different generalities. Let me take a call. Chris in Washington, you're on the Investigative Journal.
Hi. Smalley, I just want to say how much I appreciate your bravery in presenting this information in the way that you are. I've read your website recently. And my question is very simple. Based on the information that you're presenting, I'm wondering what timeline the organization of the larger family that you're describing has for implementing the New World Order.
Okay. I was told it would occur during my generation. I was told that by the year 2050 that they would be revealed. Now, again, their timelines change, though. In fact, I think jokingly referred to them as being like the Soviet Union, because you know how they had their 5- and 10-year plans, and then things always got changed. In my own lifetime, I saw several different timelines for things that were supposed to occur change. But as Greg noted, I've also heard of from different people that actually there's a huge push in the last few years. It's like it's close, let's make things happen more quickly. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't begin to guess whether that's an accurate timeline or not. I know what I was told.
I have a follow-up question, and that's it, and this will be it for me. I have recently, against my own resistance to doing so, started to investigate fringe matters, if you will. Among them, the upcoming date on the Mayan calendar of 2012. And as I've done this research, I've allowed myself just to be open to this information without believing anything I'm reading. And one of the ideas that's presenting itself is that around 2012, not just according to the Mayan calendar, but many other theories out there, that we will be undergoing, as a planet, a revolutionary shift, if you will, of some kind or another. And I'm wondering in the back of my mind if there might be any kind of race against the clock on that scale, if you will, especially if we're talking about a potential spiritual warfare, using your words in play here. Do you see a possible relation there?
Yes, I do. And 2012 is an important year, but again, I was not told that the final revealing would occur then. But I believe that what will happen is there will be events taking place that will help to set the stage. There's going to be, I was told, and again, I'm telling you what I was told while a member of the group, so please take it with a grain of salt, because as I know, these people aren't always honest or trustworthy. They are deceptive, but I was told that there would be an enormous economic collapse prior to the revealing, that basically the stock market would destabilize.
Well, that appears to be already happening.
Yeah, and well, and it's. I was told it would make the Great Depression look like Sunday school, and at that time, it's going to be. They're going to really be manipulating finances to bring about chaos, confusion, warfare, and then. I mean, but see, I don't like to be so negative. But I am telling you what I was taught when I was in the group. You know.
Well, I so appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we all do.
Yeah, and so...
You're a great voice.
Well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate that very much. But out of this chaos, they said, would come order. See, the group believes that out of chaos comes order.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather just, let things, SVALI, these guys want to bring down this country financially, whatever way possible. And right now, your voice is important in that. And, Chris, I really appreciate you saying that, because we want to stop these guys. I mean, come on. Let's get American people to get together and just put an end to this. We have a powerful group in numbers. We may not have the money, but we can take it back. And I don't want to be bullied by these kind of people. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
Let me take another call. Harper in Canada.
Can you hear me?
Harper?
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
Great, thanks, Greg. And SVALI, I read your expose when it came out on Suite101.com a few years ago, and I always wondered what happened to you because you vanished from Suite 101. So it's great to hear about you. A couple quick questions. I'll make them real fast. First is the term Moriah, conquering wind. I'd never heard that before or since I read it in your expose. I wondered if you could elaborate on that term a little bit. I also wanted to ask you if this cult, as far as you know, claims to or believes to derive any of its heritage from Atlantis or any other lost civilization. Okay.
I'm not sure about the reference to Moriah you're describing, because Moriah is I mean, but I can certainly address the second question. The Illuminati completely believe that Atlantis is real. They teach it to their children as part of the oral history. They believe it was one of the greatest civilizations that ever existed and one of the most advanced. And what they teach, their take on it is that Atlantis was a great race of highly intelligent people who had a highly advanced state, and who were highly enlightened. And what they teach the Illuminati children is that then this prophet of the enemy, who is the prophet of God, came and foretold their destruction if they didn't change their ways, because they were definitely occultists. They were luciférienne on Atlantis. I mean, that was the religion. And in fact, a lot of the advances that Atlantis enjoyed was passed down to them through supernatural means, is what I'll say. And so they laughed at the prophet, and they killed him. And I guess sometime afterwards, we were taught that a few inhabitants escaped, but but tragically the great city was lost. And the Illuminati to this day mourn the loss of Atlantis, because they feel that few survivors that left were among the great people who helped found what you call the precursors of Illuminism.
One more quick question, if I may, and I wanted to ask you if you have any reason to believe that the people, men and or women at the top of the pyramid, so to speak, practice a kind of magic where they are kind of skipping through time, in other words.
Oh, yes.
Leaving one body, a solar spirit leaving one body and coming and being born into another one, and therefore, living through time.
All the time. In fact, see, now I didn't go there in this interview because you start sounding wacko if you start discussing things like that. But in the spiritual side, they very much teach things like time travel, traveling out of body, psychic battling, things like that, things that cannot be explained by logic. And I saw things that I cannot explain through human intellect or reasoning that were highly supernatural and involve all of that and more.
Okay, great. It's a pleasure to speak with you, man. God bless you.
Thanks, Harper. I think we have Dave Wilcox called in. I think you know Dave through emails.
Yes.
SVALI. Dave, you want to say hello and they have a question for SVALI?
Sure. SVALI, it's great to have you on the air. I'm really glad you decided to do it, so thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Dave. It's good to talk with you.
Yeah, I feel like you're an old friend. I've been reading your stuff for so long, and you share so willingly and openly about yourself. It's a real honor to be able to speak with you in person like this.
Well,
go ahead. Well, Dave, you may have something you want to say to SVALI. Go ahead.
Sure.
Question?
I think one of the things I'd really like to have covered here is you shared with me in an email recently about the stages of enlightenment that they try to guide people through.
Yes.
And I would like you to try to sketch out for people how the behavioral conditioning that's coming through the media and the movies and so forth might have affected them. In other words, what personality characteristics would you see in a person when they have been influenced by these teachings? How would the average person who's not really a bad person start to be leaning if the Illuminati teachings were actually having an effect on them? What would they be like? What would start happening?
Well, again, as I said, the average person is not going to be a member of the group, so the influence would be much less. But the media, I believe that, well, in fact, I know that some of the media that we're seeing nowadays is specifically targeted towards teaching people their philosophy or goals. All you have to do is watch a children's cartoons on Saturday morning, and almost across the board you'll see morphing, power battles, occult, and that's intentional. Movies coming out. But basically, if a person's being influenced by their teachings, that person will learn to not trust their own instincts, their own feelings, their own body, their own perceptions. They'll be looking outside for guidance. Second of all, they will be leaning towards a heavily occultic worldview. That leaning upon the occult is very heavily encouraged. All you have to do is watch Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of the...
I mean, not to slam one of the most popular movies, but yes, I mean, or The Matrix. If you want to know pure Illuminist philosophy, The Matrix shows it constantly, the entire...
Right down with Morpheus being broken down with the injections, and they said that it's like hacking a computer.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with our final segment, Big Finish on the Investigative Journal with SVALI on the Public Broadcasting Network. Okay, we're back with our final segment with SVALI, and she's telling us about her experiences, 30 years with this insidious group, the Illuminati, and how deeply penetrated and infiltrated they are in our culture and in our country. SVALI, we talked about the higher levels, the mid-levels you were involved in as a head trainer. How low do they go? I mean, I've said all along they're involved in gang stalking, the MK Ultra program, infiltrating truth organizations, infiltrating groups that are trying to do good. How far down do they go?
Well, they go down to the sister group level that I mentioned, and most sister groups have anywhere from usually roughly around 30 members. And those are what a lot of people would consider what you think of as satanic cults with the high priest and priestess. That would be the local level, the lower level. But those people are also very active in their community. And so they will be involved in infiltrating activities when possible. Because to them, it's not infiltrating, it's helping. They think they're helping the group or helping people by becoming a member and spreading the influence.
Let me squeeze in one more caller, Roger, a faithful listener. Roger, you're on the Investigative Journal.
Yeah, thanks. I had so big a question and so little time that maybe I just squeeze it.
Got a couple of minutes. Yeah. Really try to work it in, Roger.
Yeah, well, you'll enjoy this first, and that is I recall when Charlotte Iserbeat was here on the local Clear Channel radio show, and the host was, of course, dismissive of an Illuminati agenda. It was great to hear Charlotte say, "You're telling me my own father was a high," and she, of course, was a first or second fiddle secretary at the Department of Ed. And she said, "You're telling me my own father on his deathbed was telling me, you go get him, girl." And he was one of them. And so that was great. Anyway, my question was towards the philosophical-religious motivators, if you will, which you've been dwelling on. And I've been trying to form it up into a more cohesive integrated.
Try to make it quick. We're running out of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, to expose the ethos of the, it's like the neocons serve as the pseudo-intellectual rationale for the Illuminati agenda. And I don't presume that it turns on such fine distinctions so much as it is a bare-knuckled lust for power. But everybody has sort of a worldview that's they use to justify their actions. And, of course, it's the most unconservative humanistic social engineering agenda on a far larger scale. And now you mentioned about these people are basically, and it's rare as hen's teeth.
Quick, Roger.
Yeah, to find somebody that's not oxymoronically both spiritualist and occultist and also what do you call hardcore rationalist, or maybe that's just for public consumption, right?
I know there was a question there somewhere, Roger, but anyway, thanks for calling. I only got a minute. I got to finish with SVALI. SVALI, tell us in your own words, you got about a minute or two left here. You went forward, you came forward, you're now living a life completely away from them. What's your hopes of the future in our country right now?
My hope is that people realize that this is happening and that they will start doing something about it, that they will start looking at. Now, again, we're talking about people who are immensely wealthy, so it won't be easy, but if people could rise up in prayer and just say, this isn't okay, if people will become informed enough to want to learn more about it, be aware they exist, and then possibly pray that people will take action against the things that are happening. Because
okay, SVALI, we're all out of time. We're going to end on that prayer. I really thank you for coming forward. You're very courageous. We'll talk again, and I'll be back tomorrow on the Investigative Journal. Same time, same place.